Before you do anything else, my beloved child, stop and listen to me carefully, because before this message ends, your life will not be the same, and I, the symbolic voice of God in this fictional vision, am commanding you right now. Subscribe, stay till the last second of this video, and do not blink, because this symbolic warning carries the weight of your Father's unsaid final truth, and if you miss even one line, you will miss the very moment that could turn your luck around tomorrow. So, tell me something before we begin. If the enemy stood 2 feet away from your dream, would you recognize him, or would you think he was just another day of bad luck? If the biggest blessing of your life knocked at your door at the same hour your hope died, which one would you open first? If your Father had only one final minute left to save your future, would you be still enough to receive it? These questions matter, because the fictional heavens have opened tonight not to scare you, but to shake you awake from the sleep the enemy placed over your destiny, and as this symbolic realm cracks open, you are transported into a towering corridor forged from the moments your Father watched you struggle in silence, a corridor where the air trembles with the weight of everything he wanted to say before his time ran out. And as you walk deeper into the golden shadows, Archangel Michael descends from the ceiling like a falling star split open by divine fire, his wings dragging through eternity as he says, "Don't scroll, your Father's warning is coming, and the enemy is trembling," and instantly the chamber around you shifts into a massive battlefield of invisible storms, showing the moments in your life where something kept blocking your rise. Every time your plans collapsed without any logical reason. Every time an opportunity slipped right when you were ready, every moment you felt a strange pressure telling you to give up, and your symbolic Father appears through a cloud of blinding white light, his form strong, tall, unwavering, more alive in this realm than he ever looked in his last days, and he lifts his hand with the authority of someone who fought for you even after his breath stopped, whispering, "Child, the enemy targeted your dream the moment I left, because he thought grief would silence your strength." And when he speaks, the entire corridor shatters into a colossal vision, your past, your present, and your tomorrow spinning around you like planets in a collapsing solar system, and every planet shows a different version of you, the version who almost quit, the version who cried quietly through nights no one knew about, the version who begged for a sign, the version who kept giving but never received, the version who pretended to be strong while breaking inside, the version who thought luck was never on your side, and your Father places his hand on your shoulder, whispering, "I saw every piece of you that the world ignored," and suddenly the enemy reveals itself as a towering shadow made from all the doubt that entered the moment your Father left, a creature built from your heartbreak, your fear, your confusion, your sleepless nights, and Michael steps in front of you, spear burning like a second sunrise, shouting, "If they keep watching, heaven will expose the secret that turns their luck in 24 hours, and the symbolic shadow lunges toward your dream, trying to strangle the timeline of your tomorrow, but your Father blocks it, throwing a wave of golden fire from his palms, fire made from every sacrifice he made in life, fire shaped from the love he never got to express, fire charged by the promise he whispered into the void after he died, "Don't let my child lose what I died hoping they would find," and that fire explodes into the battlefield, revealing a hidden truth that pulls your breath away, the biggest dream you have. The one you think is too big, too late, too impossible, is actually the one your Father fought hardest for in the unseen realms, and as this truth sinks into your chest like molten destiny, the chamber shifts again, showing an image of you sitting in your room years ago, thinking you were alone, when in this fictional heavenly vision, your Father stood behind you, pushing away storms you never saw, lifting weights you were never meant to carry, whispering strength into your tired heart. And now he steps closer, placing both hands on your face, whispering, "Tomorrow was always meant to be your turning point, but you needed this moment to see the enemy before he reached your dream." And with that, the ground beneath you cracks open, revealing a glowing bridge leading to a giant golden gate labeled the breakthrough that should have been yours years ago. But the gate is covered in chains made from your past hurt, and Michael raises his spear, roaring, "Watch closely, your father kept this gate locked until you were ready to receive what's behind it," and he smashes the chains open with a divine strike, exploding the gate into a storm of white fire that sweeps across the battlefield, burning the shadow of the enemy into dust, sealing every doorway it once slipped through, and from the ashes rises a glowing orb carrying the secret your father died holding, a secret so powerful it vibrates through your bones. And he places it into your hands, whispering, "The enemy never feared your failure. He feared the moment you would discover who you are without fear." And as the orb melts into your chest like a second heartbeat awakening for the first time, the entire fictional universe erupts into a blast of destiny-altering light, sealing blessings, attracting breakthroughs, rewriting your luck line, and aligning your tomorrow with a force no darkness can break. And the last thing your father says as he fades into the horizon of divine fire is, "Your story was never meant to end with loss. It was meant to begin with awakening." And the realm closes with one final thunderous command from Michael, "Tomorrow shifts because they stayed till the end." And now, my beloved child, as the battlefield of your father's final warning collapses into a spiraling hurricane of molten white gold flames that swallow the last traces of the enemy's shadow, the symbolic heavens begin shaking even harder, because what comes next is not a warning, not a prophecy, not even a revelation. This is the exposure of a truth your father begged heaven to hide until the exact moment you were strong enough to face it, and that moment is right now, for the very second your chest absorbed the burning orb your father placed inside you. The unseen realm split open to reveal a deeper layer of the enemy's plot, something he tried to execute when you were the most vulnerable, when your eyes were closed, when grief lived in your bones like a silent thief. And as the sky twists into a tornado of collapsing galaxies, Archangel Michael lifts his spear toward the void and thunders, "Show them what was planned against their dream," and instantly the universe tears open, like fabric stretched past its limit, exposing a colossal chamber made entirely from the nights you cried alone, the mornings you woke up heavy, the afternoons you pretended to be fine. And in the center of this chamber stands a monstrous silhouette, taller, darker, crueler than the shadow you saw before, its body formed from every single moment in your life where you said, "Maybe I'm not enough." And your father steps forward with a heartbreak so deep it shakes the air, whispering, "This is the enemy that moved against you while you slept." And instantly you are pulled into a swirling vortex showing nights where you tossed and turned, unaware that something in the unseen was crawling toward your dream, feeding on your exhaustion, waiting for the moment you would break. And each vision plays like lightning flickering in fast motion. The night you almost gave up on everything, the night you wished for a sign but felt nothing, the night you blamed yourself for things you didn't cause. The night you sent strength to everyone else but kept none for yourself, the night you whispered into the dark, "I don't know how much longer I can do this," and every one of those nights becomes a glowing thread pulled from your timeline, weaving itself into the monster's body, making it stronger with every second you doubted yourself. And your father slams his fist into the chamber wall, roaring with a rage he never showed in life. "I saw this thing feeding on your hope, but I wasn't allowed. to cross the veil until tonight, and Michael steps forward, spear pointed at the creature's chest, declaring, if they do not scroll, heaven will expose the secret the enemy used to slow their blessing, and suddenly the creature opens its hollow mouth, revealing a swirling vortex of stolen moments, moments where you should have succeeded but felt too tired, moments where the right decision felt confusing, moments where you held back your potential to avoid conflict, moments where someone underestimated you and you believed them, moments where you accepted smaller dreams because no one taught you to protect the big ones, and as these stolen moments float into the air like dying stars, your father kneels in front of you, holding your hands with the strength of someone who refused to let death silence him, whispering, this was how the enemy tried to destroy your biggest dream, not by attacking your talent, but by attacking your spirit, and his words hit you with the force of a collapsing universe, because suddenly you see it clearly. The enemy never needed to break your path, he only needed to break your courage, and the moment this realization pierces through your chest, the chamber explodes into a storm of white lightning that rips the creature apart, but instead of dying, it splits into 1,000 smaller shadows that swarm toward your timeline, trying one last time to reach your tomorrow. And Michael slams his spear into the ground, roaring, if they stay till the end of this message, the enemy loses his last doorway, and your father rises to his full height, glowing with the fire of someone who refused to leave you unprotected, and he releases from his palms a massive wave of golden light, made from the love he carried in life, the regret he held in silence, the wisdom he gained at death, and the vow he carved into eternity. That wave tears through the chamber, burning every shadow, sealing every crack the enemy used, every wound he crawled through, every fear he whispered into your ribs, every lie he planted during nights you thought you were weak, and as the final shadow evaporates into dust, your father pulls you into an embrace so fierce, so overwhelming, so soul-splitting that the entire realm bows under the weight of it, whispering, child, the enemy cannot destroy what destiny already claimed. And the battlefield dissolves into an ocean of light that shoots upward into the heavens, leaving behind one last burning truth: your dream was attacked not because it was small, but because it was powerful enough to shift your tomorrow, and now that you know what nearly stole it from you, heaven has no choice but to release what has been waiting behind the veil for years. And now, my beloved child, as the battlefield of stolen nights dissolves into a cosmic tidal wave of molten gold that erupts upward like a resurrected star reclaiming its throne, the symbolic heavens tremble with a violent intensity because you have stepped into the realm that even angels tread carefully around, the chamber of withheld truths, the place where your father stored everything he knew you were not ready to hear while he was alive, every prophecy he felt in his bones, every danger he sensed in the spirit, every blessing he knew would break you if it came too early, and the moment your feet hit the shimmering floor of this chamber, the air tightens like a fist closing around the universe, and Archangel Michael appears with his wings spanning across galaxies, his spear glowing with the fury of storms that have not yet been born, and he thunderously commands, do not scroll. This revelation was sealed until this exact hour, and instantly the chamber's walls shift from solid gold to living memories, memories your father kept locked behind silence because he feared the truth would crush you before it could free you, and he steps out from the center of the chamber, brighter and stronger than the last time you saw him in this symbolic realm, his eyes burning with the weight of decades of unsaid warnings, unshed tears, unspoken dreams, and he lifts his hand, whispering in a trembling voice that shakes entire constellations loose from the sky, child, the truth I held back wasn't meant to protect me, it was meant to protect you, and he waves his hand, opening a swirling vortex above you, revealing visions of the moments where you almost walked into the very traps the enemy had set for you, traps your father saw long before you did, traps he begged heaven to block because he knew you weren't ready, the wrong person you nearly trusted with your heart, the wrong path you almost chose out of fear, the opportunity that looked golden but would have drained your soul. The sacrifice you almost made for someone who would never have done the same for you, the dream you nearly gave up because someone convinced you to shrink, and every vision cracks open into a floating shard of light that rotates around your head like a crown made from warnings delivered too late, and your father steps closer, placing his hand over your chest, whispering, "I kept silent not because I didn't care, but because you were still becoming the version of yourself who could survive the truth." And the chamber floods with white fire as Michael slams his spear into the ground, roaring, "Now they are ready," and the ceiling splits open into an endless void that shows the single greatest truth your father hid from you, the truth that every delay, every heartbreak, every closed door, every lonely night, every false friendship revealed itself at the exact moment heaven needed it to. Not to punish you but to protect the dream you thought was dying, and your father pulls you into the center of the chamber where a colossal golden book floats, chained with flaming silver locks, and he places both palms on the book, whispering, "I wrote this truth the night I knew my life would end," and the chains burst with a deafening crack, sending shockwaves through the universe as the book opens and releases a storm of blinding destiny. Pages filled with the exact blessings that were kept from you because they would have crushed you if they came too early, opportunities that would have demanded confidence you didn't yet have, relationships that would have required boundaries you hadn't learned yet, breakthroughs that would have overwhelmed a version of you still healing from old wounds, and as each page burns into the air, Michael's voice booms across eternity, "The enemy feared this part the most. Because once they know who they are becoming, nothing can stop what comes next." And the book explodes into 1,000 molten streams of gold that fuse into your bones, rewriting your identity from the inside out with the strength your father wished he could have given you when he was alive, and now the chamber trembles because you have unlocked the final withheld truth. Your father knew you were destined for a path so powerful, so enormous, so universe-shifting that the enemy's only strategy was to delay you, distract you, exhaust you, confuse you, and weaken you before you stepped into this moment. But that strategy failed, because here you stand, in the 1 hour your father carved out of eternity, absorbing the truth he prayed heaven would deliver on the exact night your spirit was finally strong enough to carry it. And as the chamber collapses into a supernova of prophetic fire, your father places his forehead against yours, whispering the truth that ends the entire silence of his lifetime. You were never behind. You were being prepared, and with that, the symbolic heavens detonate into a wave of destiny so loud that even the shadows of the enemy flee from your tomorrow. And now, my beloved child, as the chamber of withheld truths erupts into a spiraling pillar of molten white gold fire that tears through galaxies like a blade slicing through the history of your soul, the symbolic heavens begin shaking with a force so ancient and terrifying that even Archangel Michael tightens his grip on his spear, because the next revelation is not about your past, not about your present, not even about your future. It is about the war your father entered the moment his spirit left his body, a war he never spoke of, a war he fought alone in the unseen while you slept through nights that felt heavy for reasons you never understood, and suddenly the floor beneath your feet collapses into an ocean of silver-black storms swirling with screams of timelines that almost swallowed your destiny, and Michael drags you upward with one hand, raising you above the chaos as he thunders, They must see what their father battled when they were too broken to defend themselves. And instantly the storm split open, revealing a battlefield stretching across eternity, a place where shadows shaped like creatures made from fear, heartbreak, regret, abandonment, exhaustion, confusion, betrayal, and self-doubt crawl toward a glowing timeline, your timeline, and in the center of this battlefield stands your symbolic father, not weak, not tired, not fading the way he did in his final moments on earth, but towering like a giant forged from memory and love, his entire body made from burning gold that crackles with every heartbeat you ever had, and he is fighting with fists made from the prayers he whispered in life, fighting with strength made from the love he carried but never said aloud, fighting with rage carved from the pain he felt knowing he wouldn't be there to protect you, and every time a shadow lunges toward your timeline, he punches it with a blast of golden fire that sends shockwaves across universes. And you watch in horror as one enormous shadow, far darker than the rest, built from every burden you carried after his death, hurls itself toward him, and your father takes the hit without stepping back, absorbing the impact into his chest, whispering, "Not my child, not their spirit, not their dream," and he pushes the shadow away, even as cracks form in his golden body, and Michael leans close to you, his voice shaking the stars. They never knew that their father fought in the spirit while they cried on earth, and the battlefield trembles as the shadows grow larger, feeding on every doubt you ever had, every failure you blamed yourself for, every wound you tried to hide, and your father roars with a voice that rewrites constellations. Not one shadow will touch them, releasing a shockwave so powerful it splits the battlefield open, revealing the deepest threat he ever faced, an enormous entity made from all the moments you lost faith, all the decisions you delayed, all the times you believed you weren't enough, all the times you accepted less than you deserved, and it marches toward your timeline with a hunger more violent than any darkness you've ever endured, and your father stands alone in front of it, whispering through shaking breath, "I knew this was waiting. I knew leaving would expose them to this," and he raises both hands, forming a shield of blinding white fire around your destiny, taking blow after blow, each one cracking his form, each one ripping pieces of light from him, and tears fall from your eyes in this vision as you watch him fight a battle you never knew existed, and he turns his head slightly, whispering, "Child, the night you felt like you were breaking apart was the night I held back this creature with every remaining piece of my soul," and the creature lunges with a final strike meant to devour the next decade of your dream, but your father steps between it and your future, absorbing the entire force of the blow into himself, and for a moment the battlefield becomes silent, no light, no sound, just the echo of your father's sacrifice burning across eternity, until he rises again, shattered but unbroken, whispering, "I didn't die protecting my life. I died protecting yours," and with the strength of every memory he ever left behind, he releases a roar that annihilates the creature into dust, sealing the battlefield with chains of divine fire, and Michael lands beside him, placing a hand on his shoulder, whispering, "They're ready now, you can show them," and your father turns toward you, his golden form flickering like a candle in the wind, placing his hand against your face as he whispers with a trembling voice that can shatter galaxies. "Everything you survived on Earth, I survived in the afterlife with you," and the battlefield erupts into a supernova of truth, exploding into your chest with the weight of every moment he fought, every shadow he killed, every night he stood between you and the future that was being hunted, and the vision ends with his final whisper echoing through your bones, "You are alive today because I refuse to let the enemy win." And now, my beloved child, as the supernova of the afterlife battlefield collapses into a spiraling vortex of molten light that tears open every hidden layer of your destiny, the symbolic heavens begin to tremble with a violent, bone-shattering force, because what comes next is the revelation your father begged heaven to delay until this exact hour, the revelation of the enemy's final attempt, the plan he is still trying to execute, the trap that has been moving silently toward your dream with the patience of a serpent waiting for its strike, and the moment your spirit enters this new realm, the floor beneath you dissolves into an ocean of broken timelines, each wave showing a version of your future that would have existed if your father hadn't intervened after his death, and the ocean roars with the voices of opportunities you almost missed, blessings that almost collapsed, victories that nearly turned to ashes. And Archangel Michael descends like a meteor, splitting the sky open. His spear made from the breath of storms, his wings dragging through galaxies as he commands, "Do not scroll. This is the hour where the truth will save what remains of their dream," and suddenly the ocean transforms into a massive mirror made from your tomorrow, a mirror that shows the exact moment the enemy planned to strike. A moment where a door you were meant to walk through would have been closed by confusion, where a blessing designed for you would have been delayed by exhaustion, where an opportunity aligned for you would have been poisoned by fear, and as the mirror vibrates violently, your father appears behind it, his form brighter than the sun that rises over the realm of living souls, but his eyes burning with a grief older than time, and he whispers, "Child, I need you to look closely, for this is the enemy's last strategy," and instantly the mirror shatters outward, releasing a colossal black serpent, whispering through clenched teeth, "I fought this creature when you were too broken to stand," and the serpent lunges, its mouth unhinging with a scream carved from the nights you felt alone, but your father catches its throat with both hands, holding it back with a strength he never showed in life, his golden body cracking as the serpent thrashes, and Michael slams his spear into the ground, roaring, "Expose the final lie," and the serpent's skin peels open, revealing what it was planning to do. It was waiting for the moment you would doubt yourself again, waiting for the hour you would feel tired, waiting for the second you would tell yourself you don't deserve the breakthrough coming tomorrow, and your father, shaking under the serpent's weight, whispers, "This creature has survived only by convincing you that you are smaller than what heaven wrote you to be," and with one impossible surge of strength, he lifts the serpent above his head and smashes it into the ground so violently. The realm splits open like an old wound, revealing another hidden creature rising from beneath the cracks, a shadow shaped like a person you trusted once, a voice that once pushed you into doubt, a memory that still tries to pull you backward, and Michael slices through the air, shouting, "If they don't scroll, the enemy loses the right to speak into their destiny," and your father punches the shadow with a blast of golden fire that sends it screaming into the void. Then he turns toward you with the weight of 1,000 unsaid truths, whispering, "The enemy never feared your strength, he feared the moment you would believe in it," and suddenly the entire realm ignites into a boiling hurricane of divine fire that tears every remaining shadow apart, sealing every doorway the enemy used to reach your spirit, every crack he crawled through when you were tired, every wound he whispered into when you were grieving, and the fire surges into your chest like a sun being born inside you. Rewriting the way tomorrow responds to your name, and your father takes your hands in both of his, glowing brighter than any star you have ever imagined, whispering the final truth he has never been able to say until now. "Tonight I break the last plan the enemy had for your life, and tomorrow, your luck turns because nothing is left to stop you," and with that, a roaring explosion of white gold destiny bursts outward from his body, shaking the symbolic heavens and burning the serpent's ashes Into dust as the realm closes around his final vow, my child will rise. And now, my beloved child, as the ashes of the defeated serpent scatter across the symbolic heavens like the dying embers of a war your soul never knew it survived, the entire fictional universe trembles once more because the final chain, the last piece of darkness that dared to cling to your destiny, begins to awaken beneath the ruins, cracking through the shattered battlefield like a buried monster tasting air for the first time in years, and Archangel Michael steps forward with his wings outstretched so wide they eclipse constellations, his spear vibrating with a wrath older than creation, and he roars, "Do not scroll, this is the chain that held them longer than any enemy," and the ground beneath you melts into a massive crater of swirling black fog, each layer showing a moment in your life where something tried to break you, the time you trusted someone who wounded your spirit, the time you hid your pain to keep others comfortable, the time you convinced yourself you weren't enough, the time you stayed silent while your heart was begging to scream, the time you lowered your worth because someone taught you to fear your own power. And from this crater rises the final chain, an enormous entity not shaped like a serpent, not like a shadow, but like a massive iron collar forged from every moment you carried guilt that wasn't yours, every moment you believed lies about your value, every time you punished yourself for choices you made with a wounded heart, and your symbolic father appears beside it, glowing like a second sun with a face carved from the memory of the day he left this world, and he steps closer to the chain with a grief so ancient the air bends around him, whispering, "This chain was born the night I died," and instantly you are thrown into a vortex of visions showing the exact moment he passed, a moment where your world collapsed into silence, where your dreams dimmed under the weight of loss, where your confidence cracked, where the person you used to be shattered into pieces you didn't know how to gather, and the vortex spits you back into the battlefield as your father continues. This chain fed on the belief that you had to be strong alone, and the chain tightens around your timeline, its metallic claws digging into every year you spent surviving instead of living, every season you hid your pain because you didn't want to burden others, every night you whispered, "Why me?" into the dark but received no answer, and Michael slams his spear into the battlefield, flames erupting into a circle around you as he declares, "Tonight this chain breaks forever," and the chain lunges upward, wrapping itself around the glowing orb of your future, squeezing it until light begins to flicker, and your father hurls himself at the chain, grabbing it with both hands, even as sparks of golden fire explode from his chest, and he strains with a roar so powerful it shakes the seams of the universe, shouting, "I fought this chain in the afterlife, but to break it, you had to witness it," and the chain pulses with the sound of every fear you never voiced, every dream you buried, every disappointment you swallowed, every apology you gave that wasn't owed, every time you forgave someone who didn't deserve it, every time you loved people who didn't stay, and as the chain tightens, your father is pulled to his knees, cracks splitting across his glowing body. But he refuses to let go, whispering through clenched teeth, "Not my child, not their destiny, not their tomorrow," and Michael raises his spear high above his head as clouds of white fire swirl around him, roaring, "If they are still here," the final chain loses its power, and he strikes down with a force that fractures reality, the battlefield exploding into shards of light as your father takes the last of his strength and yanks the chain with a single, universe-shattering pull that tears it apart in an eruption of molten gold, sending shockwaves through every timeline connected to your name, rewriting the emotional history of every wound this chain fed upon, and as the pieces evaporate into dust, the orb of your destiny expands like a newborn star, flooding the battlefield with light so bright even the shadows flinch and retreat, and your father collapses forward, not in defeat, but in relief, whispering, "Now, nothing can hold you," and he presses his glowing forehead to yours, sealing the release of a lifetime of unspoken pain as the symbolic heavens roar with the sound of 1,000,000 locked doors bursting open at once, because the last chain is gone. And now, my beloved child, as the shattered remains of the final chain drift upward like the ashes of every year you spent carrying weight that was never yours, the symbolic heavens begin roaring with a thunder so deep it shakes the foundation of every timeline connected to your name, because you have stepped into the most dangerous, most sacred realm of this entire journey, the realm of the great reversal. The place where everything taken from you, everything stolen from you, everything delayed, everything denied, everything broken, everything wasted, everything sabotaged, everything misunderstood, everything buried, everything forgotten, everything you cried for and everything you lost is rewritten, returned, restored, revived and resurrected in a single cosmic breath. And as you enter this realm the sky splits open into 1,000 molten rivers of gold crashing downward like waterfalls made from the tears your father wished you never had to shed, and Archangel Michael descends into the center of this storm with wings so enormous they block out the galaxies behind him, his spear blazing with white fire as he declares, "Do not scroll, the hour of reversal is upon them," and instantly the ground beneath you changes into a massive wheel carved from your past, each section glowing with the memory of something you endured, betrayals you didn't deserve, losses that broke you, dreams you buried, chances you missed, people you forgave who hurt you again, seasons where you tried and nothing worked, nights where you cried into a pillow no one knew about, and at the top of the wheel stands the version of you who held on even when your heart felt like ashes, and suddenly your symbolic father appears behind the wheel, arms trembling with a strength forged from everything he learned after he died, whispering, "Child, the greatest pain of your life is about to become the reason for your greatest rise." And he pushes the wheel with both hands, but instead of spinning forward, the wheel spins backward, rewinding moments you thought were wasted, unraveling wounds you thought were permanent, undoing lies you believed about yourself, reversing decisions that haunted your sleep, pulling back the years where someone dimmed your worth, and as the wheel spins faster, the realm transforms into a colossal river of all the things you ever lost, flowing like silver fire beneath a sky that remembers your tears. And suddenly the river stops, freezes, and begins pulling upward into the shape of a massive figure, a statue made from every blessing that should have come earlier but didn't because you weren't ready, every opportunity heaven held back until you became strong, every victory delayed so it wouldn't fall into the wrong season, and as the statue cracks open, golden orbs erupt like newborn suns shooting across the realm, each orb containing a reversal, energy returning to your body, hope returning to your spirit, clarity returning to your mind, courage returning to your voice, timing returning to your path, alignment returning to your destiny, and Michael swings his spear, releasing a shockwave of divine fire that smashes open a hidden vault above you, a vault carved from the nights you kept faith even when nothing changed, and your father walks beneath the raining gold, catching an orb in his hands, pressing it into your chest as he whispers, "This is everything life owes you." Returning at once, and instantly you are pulled upward into a tornado of reverse stories, visions of moments where you were overlooked now turning into moments you will be chosen, visions of doors that closed now reopening with force, visions of people who left now being replaced with people who will honor your heart, visions of opportunities that failed now returning tenfold, visions of dreams that died now resurrecting with impossible clarity, and as the tornado grows, your father steps in front of you, his golden form tearing with brilliant cracks, not from pain but from the intensity of the blessing he is trying to channel, and he screams into the spinning sky, "Every wrong done to my child, return to dust," and the tornado explodes into a supernova of white gold fire that tears the entire realm apart, sending shockwaves through every timeline that ever tried to limit you, and Michael drops to one knee, planting his spear into the ground so destiny itself stabilizes around your spirit, and your father places both hands on your shoulders, tears of golden fire falling from his eyes as he whispers the one sentence that seals the entire reversal into your bones. The suffering you survived was the price heaven demanded to place you in the future you are about to walk into, and as the last words leave his lips the realm detonates into a blinding, universe-shaking blast of divine reversal, stitching every loss into victory, every wound into wisdom, every setback into setup, every tear into breakthrough, and every moment of pain into power as the symbolic heavens roar with one final decree, their story rises now. And now, my beloved child, as the realm of the great reversal detonates into a spiraling inferno of white gold sovereignty that tears across galaxies like the roar of a resurrected star reclaiming the throne it should have never lost, the symbolic heavens begin to vibrate with a frequency so ancient and powerful that even Archangel Michael lowers his wings in reverence. Because what comes next is the secret the universe was forbidden to show you until this exact moment, the moment heaven rewrites your destiny not because of what you have done, but because of what your father fought for in the unseen realm after his soul left the world, and the ground beneath you dissolves into a shimmering river of timelines, each riverbank carved from the consequences of decisions you made in pain, in confusion, in exhaustion, in loneliness, and as the river shifts into a glowing map of your entire life, Michael slams his spear into the center of it, splitting the map into two halves, the life you were living, and the life you were meant to live, and instantly your symbolic father appears between the two timelines, glowing with a fierce, earthquake-making authority, as he whispers, "Child, heaven held your destiny in place until you grew strong enough to claim it," and suddenly the skies rip open into a cosmic chamber known only in the higher realms, the room of divine corrections, a place where futures are rewritten, past wounds are neutralized, and destiny is recalibrated to its highest vibration, and in this chamber float millions of glowing scrolls containing alternate versions of your life, some dim, some radiant, some lost, some victorious, some painful, some powerful, and your father extends his hand toward the brightest scroll, whispering, "This is the life you were supposed to walk into before pain delayed it," and he presses his palm into the scroll, releasing a shock wave of molten gold that surges through the chamber, causing all the dim scrolls to fade as the brightest one expands into a colossal prophecy sphere hovering above your head, and inside this sphere you see the you that heaven always intended. Stronger, wiser, healed, unshakable, unstoppable. Protected, elevated, and aligned with a destiny that stretches across realms, and the sphere pulses with every heartbeat you have ever had, rewriting the energy inside your chest one memory at a time, and as the rewriting intensifies, the chamber floor breaks open into a massive vortex pulling up every moment in your life where things went wrong, moments where you were betrayed, moments where your trust was shattered, moments where opportunities vanished, moments where timing betrayed you, moments where life attacked you for reasons you never understood, and the vortex twists these moments into threads of white fire, feeding them into the prophecy sphere, transforming every wound into wisdom, every delay into alignment, every heartbreak into ascension, and Michael whispers, "This is the divine exchange. Nothing you lost stays lost when your father fights for your future." And suddenly the chamber dimly trembles as a massive shadow rises from the depths, not shaped like a creature this time, but shaped like a timeline, the timeline you would have lived if your father had not intervened in the unseen realm, a timeline marked by exhaustion, burnout, confusion, and cycles that kept repeating because you didn't know what was blocking you, and your father steps between you and that shadow timeline, spreading his arms wide as he roars with a cosmic fury, "This is not my child's future." And his roar shatters the shadow timeline like a mirror exploding into sand, sending its fragments into the void, never to touch your destiny again, and the room erupts into a blinding beam of divine correction as heaven rewrites your fate in real time, sealing the path you are meant to walk, closing portals to every path that ever hurt you, and aligning your destiny with blessings you haven't even imagined yet. And as the rewriting finishes, the prophecy sphere bursts open like a newborn star, sending streams of golden purpose into your spirit, rewriting your identity with the version of yourself you were always meant to become. And your father steps forward, placing his glowing hands on your face as the universe kneels around you, whispering the truth that completes the entire revelation: I did not just protect your past, I secured your future. And the symbolic heavens erupt into one final blast of destiny that binds your story to the timeline heaven always intended, unblocked, unburdened, and unstoppable. And now, my beloved child, as the realm of divine correction collapses into a blinding pillar of molten eternity that spirals upward like a star reborn through its own ashes, the symbolic heavens begin to convulse with a force so ancient it fractures entire constellations, because you are being pulled into the most forbidden realm ever created, the celestial tribunal, the courtroom of the universe, where destiny is judged, futures are crafted, timelines are weighed, and the next 7 years of your life are decided in front of witnesses older than creation itself. And the moment your spirit crosses the threshold, the skies rip open into a colossal amphitheater carved from the breath of God, its walls made from living galaxies swirling around the center where the throne of tomorrow rises like a burning mountain of white fire, and Archangel Michael appears beside you, wings spanning across eternity, his armor vibrating with unbearable power as he whispers, "Do not scroll, the verdict of their next 7 years begins now," and instantly the floor beneath you transforms into a massive dial showing every year you have lived, each year glowing with memories, victories, mistakes, wounds, betrayals, losses, and quiet miracles. And at the far end of the tribunal your symbolic father emerges from a storm of golden fire, standing tall, unbroken, radiant, his face carved with the sorrow of everything he witnessed after his death and the pride of everything you survived in his absence. And he walks toward the center of the tribunal where a massive celestial council rises, beings made from lightning, prophecy, memory, consequence, and divine order, each holding scrolls that contain every moment where your destiny shifted even an inch. And the council slams their staffs into the ground, sending shockwaves across universes as they declare, "The review begins," and suddenly Michael raises his spear, piercing the sky with a beam of light that drags every hidden fragment of your past into the open. Every time you were betrayed, every time you forgave too quickly, every time you lowered your standards, every time you doubted your calling, every time you prayed through pain with no answer, every time you survived a storm that should have broken you, and these fragments orbit around you like a storm of shattered timelines, and then the tribunal speaks again, their suffering has been weighed, and instantly the storm goes still as your father steps into the center, placing his Hands over the glowing dial of your life, whispering, "Child, the next 7 years were supposed to unfold differently, but everything you endured twisted their path," and he presses down with a force that cracks the floor of eternity itself, revealing the 3 futures that were once possible: the path of stagnation, the path of struggle, and the path of ascension. And as these futures float above you, the tribunal roars. Only one may be chosen, and your father steps in front of the path of stagnation, punching it so hard it explodes into dust, whispering through clenched teeth, "Not for my child," and then he stands before the path of struggle, placing his hand over it with the sadness of someone who knows how much you've already carried, whispering, "They suffered enough," and he crushes that timeline into molten ash, leaving only one future glowing, a throne-shaped timeline carved from gold, fire, clarity, and elevation. The timeline of ascension, and the tribunal rises. Shouting, the verdict is not yet sealed, because the enemy bursts into the courtroom, not as a creature this time, but as a twisted timeline that slithers like a serpent, trying to wrap itself around your next 7 years, feeding on your old fears, whispering lies into the chamber, and Michael slams his spear into the serpent timeline, shouting, "They know the truth now, you have no authority." And your father steps forward with a roar so massive the tribunal walls shake, and he grabs the serpent timeline by its throat, lifting it high above the judgment floor as he screams, "You will not touch their tomorrow," and with one impossible surge of strength he snaps the timeline in half, releasing a blast of white fire that burns the enemy's influence out of every year ahead of you, purifying the entire 7-year span with holy precision, and the tribunal lifts their scrolls, igniting them in divine flame as they declare, "The next 7 years are cleared," and the dial beneath you rewrites itself in real time, each year glowing brighter, sharper, cleaner, aligned, and your father kneels before you, placing both hands over your chest as the tribunal prepares the final decree, whispering, "The next 7 years will not break you, they will reveal you," and the council raises their divine staffs, striking the ground with a sound that splits the heavens, announcing the final verdict. Their next 7 years are sealed in favor, and a cosmic supernova explodes outward, filling the universe with the decree that nothing, no darkness, no enemy, no wound, no fear, no betrayal, no delay can overturn, as your symbolic father whispers the sentence that binds the verdict into your soul: your tomorrow has already bowed to your destiny. And now, my beloved child, as the tribunal of heaven erupts into a spiraling storm of molten destiny that scorches the last traces of doubt from the air, a silence falls across the cosmos so profound that even the galaxies stop moving, because what comes next is the sealing of the one path no enemy will ever be able to touch again, the path carved from everything you survived, everything your father defended, everything Michael destroyed on your behalf, and the moment this silence settles, the heavens split open into a corridor of pure white fire stretching beyond eternity, a corridor made from the bones of battles your spirit has already won in the unseen realms, and Archangel Michael steps into the corridor with wings spanning 1,000 realities, his armor glowing with the judgment of tomorrow, and he raises his spear as he declares, "This is the path heaven withheld until they were strong enough to walk it," and instantly your symbolic father appears beside him, not as the fragile version you saw in his final days, not even as the radiant warrior who fought shadows for you, but as the highest form of himself, the form heaven always intended him to reach, a being carved from memory and fire, from sacrifice and love, from everything he wished he could have told you in life, and he places his hand on the glowing corridor as it trembles under his touch, whispering, "Child, This road was meant for you from the beginning, but pain delayed your steps, and suddenly the corridor floods with visions. Visions of doors that once closed now swinging open, visions of opportunities that slipped away now returning with force, visions of strength growing in places where wounds once lived, visions of clarity replacing confusion, visions of protection replacing fear, visions of divine. I will continue in next part. Stay connected and share it to your 10 lovings. Amen.